are. Thanks to the excellent work of our firefighters in the air and on the ground, we've been able to get on fires very, very quickly after they're reported and keep them all from becoming large, significant fires. So far this year, our firefighters have responded just over 1,200 fires, which is about average for this time of year. But the key point here is that those fires have burned 91,500 acres, which is well below average at this point in August. We have been able to keep the majority of our fires this season small and under 10 acres, which is our goal. This is largely due to the fact that we have currently over 40 air resources in our state. We knew it was going to be a hot, dry season. We knew we were going to have more risks of fires. So we very much set out to ensure we had the air resources we needed and that we had control over those. In addition, we've seen significant support from our equipment, the investments we've made in our dozers that are all strategically positioned across the state that help us quickly get to these fires and contain them. And as you all know, we have not only positioned our air resources and our equipment in those areas that have high risk of wildfires, but we have also positioned our firefighters in every corner of the state, places like Cle Elum and Goldendale, so they can respond even faster to new fires in those areas that are primed to burn after this heat and with these high winds that are expected. Currently, this is actually great news and great story. We only have a couple large fires on the landscape. And given it's the middle of August, that is actually a really great story because that's not typical. But again, that is to the fact that we have been well positioned with the air resources and the equipment and firefighters we have on the ground. The two large fires we have on the landscape currently is the Sourdough Fire in the North Cascades National Park. This is the one that has been creating sort of a lot of the smoke that we've seen and the impact on our air quality in Washington, along with obviously fires that are in Canada. But this specific fire, the Sourdough Fire, has added more than 1,500 acres. Yesterday is now over 4,500 acres and about 11% contained. Unfortunately, this is one that is going to take a while for to get a handle on, just because it's such rugged, steep terrain. There's really no good way to get in there and get to it. It's also extremely dangerous for firefighters, as some parts of the fire have created a kind of bowling alley where boulders are literally rolling downhill and onto Highway 20, which is very, very dangerous for our firefighters. This is a federal fire, and we are providing support and assistance along with many of our local firefighters. The other fire is the Blue Lake Fire, which is just a bit further down Highway 20 west of Winthrop. That is at 265 acres and uncontained, also a federal fire. And we stand by ready to assist and provide support as needed. I know also that there are smaller fires that continue to sort of pop up everywhere. Frankly, they're popping up too often. And these were ones that we need to be constantly aware of. They can quickly spread around places like Squalicum and La Center. You can't miss out on social media, all the local fire districts that appear to be responding in rapid pace in every corner of the state to these pop-up fires, whether they're on the side of the highway or in someone's backyard. We usually are getting about 3 or 4 of these fires that are popping around Spokane, and our firefighters are scrambling to put them out at the local and the state level. Yesterday, we had 17 new fires. And fortunately, again, for the quick response from our local and state firefighters, they did great quick work and limited them to a total of only 113 acres, which included one that moved pretty quickly before firefighters got to it, and another that threatened a Costco in North Spokane. I raise that only to say they are coming. We're getting fires in every corner of the state. It has continued to be playing out, and it's only going to continue as we have the months ahead where it's still hot and dry, and as people are enjoying their summers. And it's also a reminder of why people need to really take precautions and reduce the chance of fires. I think it's also important, not only have we recognized here the work that our own state firefighters and our local firefighters are doing, but we do have firefighters from around the country who are here helping us. We currently have more than 100 people from 11 different states that are helping us to keep Washington safe. And that's not just firefighters, but also critical support staff like safety officers, heavy equipment operators, and a list of people who work behind the scenes to make sure our firefighters are safe, they're well fed, and paid on time. Before I close, I think it's a great opportunity for us to just give a shout out and a plug that everyone not only can do their part to help keep our firefighters safe by not, and our community safe by not starting fires, but they can also do their part to thank our firefighters through a partnership that we have with the Mariners this year. So just by buying a ticket to the August 29th game against the Oakland A's at the mariners.com/wildfire, you can actually help injured firefighters and their families. $5 of every ticket sold through that link will go to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation, who helps protect our firefighters after all they do to protect us. I know it's tough to watch the A's, but this is maybe the best way to do it while also feeling good about helping the brave men and women who were injured or even died, helping us and our communities. And again, just before I close, we really need your help in doing your part, stressing the importance of safety, stressing the importance of respecting our burn bans and being cautious. This will not only help your families and your communities, but it'll also help our firefighters by being responsible on a very dry, brittle landscape. So thank you for your time. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for doing your part, urging everyone to stay safe. And I'm now going to turn it over to Vaughn for a wildfire fuels briefing.
All right, good morning. Give me just a second to get my screen shared here. There it is. All right, I apologize for my voice. I picked up a cold, so I'm going to be coughing a bit going through this. But I wanted to show a couple of things here. Okay, hopefully it's showing up there. So I wanted to show a couple of things. This is a map of the state. We have fire danger rating areas across the state that are a combination of similar fuels, weather, and topography. So we break every corner up into these fire danger rating areas to basically determine what our fire danger status is. And these are the blocks that we have it broken up into. We have the lower Columbia Basin here, the upper Columbia Basin, Chelan. On the west side, we've got the lowlands, north, central, and south, etc. But this is basically just how we break the state up when it comes to determining what the fire danger is in any particular location. And as of right now, let me do the present on this so it shows up a little better. This is kind of what we're looking at as far as our overall fuel status across the state. So this hot and dry system that came in this last week did quite a number as far as drying us out. What we're looking at here is probably kind of confusing to most of you if you haven't seen this on a regular basis, but these are the fire danger indices that we work by. Energy release component, burning index, 1,000-hour fuel moisture, so large logs, and live woody fuel moisture, so the live brush and things like that. And they're broken up into our basic low, moderate, high, very high, extreme fire dangers. And right now, only 4 areas across the state are not in extreme fire danger. We've set daily records. So these are not all-time records, but just new records for yesterday across the state in 6 different fire danger rating areas, most of them on the west side with the heat that we saw. These are showing percentiles. So we're at the 99th percentile for potential energy release out of a fire, all across the west side, 97th, 98th, 99th, in most of the east side of the state as well. This is definitely extreme fire categories for all of these. Basically, we don't get this hot and this dry and have this high of fire danger any more than 3 to 4 days a year on average, and that's where we're sitting at right now. We do have a little bit of good news coming up, which is today, at least for the west side, we've got this this low pressure trough pushing through. That's bringing some increased winds off the Pacific, raising our humidity levels, cooling things off. We're going to see a little bit of a dip in the fire danger today, but the bad news is that we get dry weather, dry northerly winds tomorrow. That's going to drop humidities again and send things spiking back up really quickly. Situations like we're looking at for Saturday and Sunday are always a bit of a watch out for the west side, because once the humidity gets below about 30%, that's when all the mosses and lichens and all the things that make the Western Washington forests so lush and beautiful looking become tender. And so within the next couple of days, especially, we've got some extremely nasty conditions that we're facing. East of the Cascades today, this little system that's pushing through and kind of easing things off today for us on the west side is bringing very strong winds across the entire region. And with the conditions that are out there in the Columbia Basin and in the foothills, strong winds on those fuels, if we get an ignition, is very high likelihood that it's going to go big and going to go quick. So very dangerous conditions right now. The only bit of real good news is that typically our season high for fire danger is around the first or second week of August. So we're kind of on the normal downslide. And the 5 to 10 day forecast, 8 to 14, all indicates that our fire danger should be coming down a little bit over the next couple of weeks. But those forecasts are far enough out that it really depends on quite a number of features, and they're not terribly accurate out this far. And unfortunately, none of them show precipitation coming in any decent amounts either. So our fire danger, while it might be slipping just a little bit and starting on the downward slide, isn't going to do it very quickly. And that's it for me. I will stop sharing and turn it over to whoever is next.
All right, I think we're going to open it for Q&A. If you have a question, why don't you throw it into the chat, and we'll make sure it's answered by the correct person. And I'll give folks a few minutes here to get those questions going. All right, we got a question about repositioning resources from Joanna. Can someone talk about repositioning resources, i.e. do Kittitas County this week?
Joanna, I don't know if you're referring to them, one of my comments. What specifically? When Joanna, can we let Joanna speak so I can have her direct question to make sure I'm clear about?
Sure, go ahead, Joanna.
Yeah, I think there was a news release recently just about kind of redirecting things. I mean, and obviously you're doing that all summer long, but is that aircraft, what is kind of being moved around?
So we move everything around based on need, right? So we'll base it on need, and that need comes from whether there is sort of indication of extreme fire risk and danger, as you saw sort of Vaughn presenting how that plays out in different corners of our state, and based on actual fires, right? And so we know that sort of east of the Cascades in that central Washington area, based on what Vaughn just presented, we're going to have a high fire risk danger. And we will we already have pre-positioned equipment there, but we will add to it. We also know that's a high use area where we have a lot of people who are going to that area for recreation, which obviously increases the fire risk and danger. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
these, and I'll just, it may be obvious to everyone here, but the reason we do pre-positioning is, as we all know, time is everything in a fire. The sooner you get on it, the sooner you're able to contain it. And often, if we are wasting time in travel, moving, air resources, equipment, and even firefighters, because we don't have them located near the fire, that can be the difference between getting in the fire while it's small versus it blowing up and exploding, especially when the landscape is so hot and dry and if wind is involved. And that's why, we can share a map with you sort of post call here, which shows you where our air operation coverage is right now. Again, I mentioned we have 40 air resources, the most air resources we've ever had available to us under our exclusive control ever, actually. And we have them well positioned, literally blanketing the entire state. Because of the amount of hot, dry fuel we have out there and how many fire starts we're seeing in every corner.
All right, looks like we've got another question here from John. This one's for you, Vaughn. Seems like summer started in April. Can you really feel comfortable about saying August is peak fire season and we're on the downslope of that?
Yeah. Based on the last 20, 30 years worth of fire activity and field conditions and whatnot, we can see pretty readily where our peak season is at. And typically we are on the downslide at this point in the year. So, but we're just coming off of the peak of the season, which is unfortunately usually in the extreme fire danger rating areas. So while it might be trending downward, it's not a quick trend, and until we see the fall rains start to show up, the season is definitely not at an end. There's always a little bit of a counterbalance towards the end of the year as the vegetation starts to cure out and get basically prepared for winter. Leaves starting to come off and plants transitioning and whatnot. They become oftentimes far more flammable, even though the days are shorter, the nights are colder, and humidity values are coming up. But it would be safe to say that we are on the downward trend at this point in time. It's just, like I said, it's not a steep trend at all. It's going to be a very slow glide to the end of the season. And there's always those opportunities for critical fire weather events to come through and ramp things back up very, very quickly. But overall, the average is, a downward trend from this point.
And if I could add on to Vaughn's, we know the two connections to what creates wildfires. One is obviously weather and, hot, dry conditions, wind conditions, limited precipitation, but the other is people. And if we still have people that are starting fires or impacting the chance of a fire in late, I'd say late summer, early fall, and we don't yet have the precipitation needed that helps get moisture on that landscape, we will still have significant fires. We saw that obviously in November of last year, which has never been seen as our peak fire season. But we had still a lot of people on the landscape that were causing and creating fires. And at the same time, we also had still hot, dry conditions.
Any other questions? Long pregnant pause, going once. Giving you guys lots of runway here. Going twice, starting to see people leaving the chat. I think we're going to call it there for questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming out. And I will have a recording available of this Zoom call on request after it is processed. Thanks, everyone.
Well.
Record.